the White House, when there is a state visit, it's somber, it's serious, and it certainly is very different from what we will be seeing when it comes to India and the United States of America, that the Indian American community would be allowed inside the White House to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Rahul, in itself is a very interesting aspect. They'll be inside the White House, and there is going to be a press conference, rare but not the first.
Interesting that I just found out that they've taken our passports and hopefully let us into the White House soon. They've kept us out in the rain for a while now, just waiting for everyone to assemble and then let people in. The interesting thing is...
And we can show the media contingent over there. Oh, yeah. If Kirpal can just... that's the Indian media contingent. There's a State Department officials waiting because, Rahul, you cannot enter, like the State Department official was saying, cannot enter into the White House on your own and just loiter around. So there'd be one escort per bunch of journalists, so that's why they were waiting for quorum.
The other really interesting thing is the level of detailing that's gone into planning this state dinner. I mean, I don't want to compare with Rashtrapati Bhavan or the fare that's put out there, but if you just see, trying to link it to the Indian tricolor, linking it to the peacock, bringing in millets, so they're very, very aware. And there's also a Patel red wine. I mean, we spoke to Raj Patel. He, of course, is shocked with the fact that, he's featuring then Patel's, such a fabulous industrious community, but not really known for their wines. And there'll be a Patel red wine. So now everybody's just, looking for Patel red wines. But that just shows the level of detailing in rather unexpected ways as well. The social secretary at the White House working very hard to just bring it together in a magical way.
Well, that's right. And getting millets. So there is a difference over here. We've had vegetarian prime ministers before as well. And a lot of respect is given to the Indian leadership when they're here. They make sure, Rahul, that there is vegetarian food for the visiting dignitary, which is what has happened over here as well. But millets, which is very close to Prime Minister Modi's heart, is part of the menu, is only showing the nuanced way in which they've taken care of little things that Prime Minister Modi is doing this time around.
There apparently was a garba last night at that private dinner. So, so Mr. and Mrs. Biden both, I suppose this is more Mrs. Biden than Mr. Biden.
Lady, yeah.
Yeah, so making an effort really, and also for those Garba performers would have been there, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, they would have been practicing all day long, and then to be given the opportunity to perform before the Prime Minister would have been special for them.
Well, absolutely, Rahul. The performances, like Rahul was saying, is not just inside the White House. We've been seeing performances through and through, Garba, Dandiya, you name it, outside of the White House as well as outside of Hotel Willard, which is the official hotel of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and then a very professional Garba performance for the Indian Premier at the White House. So very interesting. There's a lot of color, a lot of culture, incorporating a lot of culture also, because the messaging over here between India and the United States of America is very clear, that these are two countries with shared values. Culture, while not absolutely shared, but Indian community, Indian Americans have become a very important, huge part. Rahul has come with an umbrella, very nice.
Scale umbrella. I mean,
it has to be, because when we're reporting out in the field and there are rains, primarily this is to ensure that you're not getting wet on any side, and that's why these large umbrellas for the media industry.
But with our production team, they got like this solid industrial scale umbrella. If you have one, you can do weights with this thing. Yeah. But yeah, it's been raining non-stop. If you have to be at the White House, I wish this was an idyllic day. The sun would be out. That would be really nice. It's not too cold. But hey, as long as the business end of...
We had women and kids performing in the rain yesterday. They were shivering out in the cold. And I asked them, aren't you cold? Are you still going to wait? And they waited 4 hours just to get a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi. So this is a pitter-patter compared to what we experienced yesterday, Rahul.
No, and the fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi here amongst the Indian American community continues to have the kind of approval ratings which would seem to defy all kinds of human logic, because I saw in 2014 there was a lot of support for the Prime Minister, and that in some senses is understandable because he just got elected to power. But 9 years later, to have the same level of enthusiasm, to have the same level of support, just shows how anti-incumbency doesn't seem to have caught up, and that is quite that is quite incredible. Given the fact that you're in power, obviously you do things, you don't do things, and then after a while you expect a certain number of people to be really upset and angry. And sure, there are some protesters. Remember, there have been some Manipuri protesters in different parts. There have been some Khalistani protesters, but there haven't been those many. If you ask the vast majority, the overriding majority, very strongly backing what the what the Prime Minister is doing. And this really is one of the great sources of strength for the Prime Minister, the kind of support he enjoys within the Indian American community, many of whom are very active brand ambassadors for his style of governance and politics.
Absolutely. And Rahul, you spoke about the protesters as well. Would you be able to identify which organization they are from? Have we spoken to any of these protesters? Because I believe they're just few and far between.
Oh, there aren't too many of those, but you can't take away the fact that there are some. And also, in many ways, it shows that India is a fully functional democracy, where there are people who, have come out to support the Prime Minister. They're singing, dancing, having a merry time. And there are those who don't like what the PM is doing, or would like him to do different things in a different fashion. And that's just a part of, and there has been some pushback. If we see in the media here in the United States, there have been some scathing articles, but hey, when you talk about two democracies and their emerging equations, this is quite on expected lines. You can't expect all 100 people to jump up and say that the Prime Minister is doing a great job, or that things are going on the right track. There will be those who have a differing point of view, and they are fully entitled to their point of view. And despite the fact that when President Biden came into power, there were apprehensions that maybe things wouldn't be as rosy as they were with Donald Trump, but it hasn't panned out like that, keeping the institutional framework of the India-United States relationship uppermost. President Biden has been able to, navigate the boat along. In fact, add speed to the boat and take it much further, much faster, and that is to the credit of both President Biden and Prime Minister Modi.
We also have the White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby describing the joint press conference that is going to happen as a very big deal. If you could tell us, why would he say something of this nature? Because it's very common for, when you have two leaders of countries to go ahead and address press conferences.
The Indian Prime Minister hasn't done too many press conferences. In fact, hardly has done any. And there has been the odd occasion. I think there was one with Donald Trump where there were some questions. There will be some questions today as well. Some from the Indian media delegation, some from the US media delegation. And that will be interesting to see what gets thrown the Prime Minister's way, how he reacts. He should really take more questions. I mean, there's no question about that. But in the way that he is, he prefers interviews to live press conferences, and that's just been his style of operation from the time when he was Chief Minister. Doing active press conferences is not something that he enjoys very much. So there will be, after the bilateral meetings get over, there will be those questions, and it'll be interesting to see how the Prime Minister reacts, and also what kind of curveballs come his way, Chaiti.